Hi, my name is Nicole Beres. I'm presenting work on the normalization of toxicity in online gaming, conducted with colleagues at the University of Saskatchewan. Toxicity is a major problem in online games. It refers to negative behaviors, including abusive communications, such as flaming, and disruptive gameplay that violates rules and norms, such as griefing. Toxicity contributes to churn, can hurt team morale and performance, and harms players, and it's a problem that women, players of color, and LGBTQ players are disproportionately targeted. Yet, toxicity persists. There remains a gamers will be gamers-tastic acceptance of this abuse in competitive gameplay. To combat toxicity, we first need to understand how and for whom toxic behaviors become normalized. The theory of normalized behavior would suggest that players who are more approving of toxic behaviors will be more likely to engage in them, and also the reverse, that engaging in toxic play will reinforce normative beliefs about its acceptability. Some toxic behaviors are overt and aggressive and have been linked to individual traits such as aggression and online disinhibition. But other toxic behaviors are more subtle. For example, insults and hate speech can be underhanded, making it hard to point to a definitive slur. Disruptive gameplay can be concealed or defended with an argument of ignorance, and trash talk can slide seamlessly from playful ribbing into hurtful mockery. These subtle toxic behaviors are less easily identified and called out as explicitly toxic, and their insidiousness, by definition, makes them hard to identify and difficult to connect with existing traits like aggression. To hell, we turn to the concept of moral disengagement, which refers to a process by which people rationalize immoral behaviors to avoid feelings of self-condemnation. For example, by reframing toxic behaviors as less harmful through deliberate justification and labeling, by minimizing the harm caused to others by toxic behaviors, by stripping people of their human qualities, and by placing blame on others to avoid personal responsibility. We conducted a mixed method study to answer the question, in what way are players rationalizing and justifying toxicity as acceptable, and which players are most at risk of normalizing toxic behaviors in online games. We sourced 7 to 8 minute audio clips of women streamers playing Overwatch. We recruited 106 participants with competitive gaming experience, who are familiar with Overwatch, and who play games at least a few times per week. Participants listened to the clips, rated toxicity using an 8-item scale, and described whether they would be willing to report the behavior. They also completed validated trait scales, including aggression, online disinhibition, and moral disengagement. We conducted multiple regressions to predict toxicity ratings from individual traits. Our results show that toxicity ratings were further predicted by toxic online disinhibition and by 3 of 4 aspects of moral disengagement, but not by any aspect of aggression. We asked participants to justify their willingness to report or to not report the observed behaviors in the clips and conducted an inductive thematic analysis on their answers. We identified 5 recurring themes of justifications for a decision to report. These are described in depth in the paper and include insults and profanity, hate speech, bullying, sexual content, and non-specific toxicity. We also identified 4 recurring themes of participant rationalizations for not reporting. First was banter. A prevalent attitude was that interactions were sanctioned as an acceptable form of trash talk that is harmless, fun, and absent of malicious intent. Second was typical of games. This suggested toxicity is not new or going away anytime soon, and highlighted it as an ingrained element that you get used to playing multiplayer games. Third was acceptable toxicity. Behaviors may have been perceived as toxic, but within acceptable thresholds for a gaming context. The final theme was not my circus. Behaviors were perceived as potentially toxic, but participants felt it was not their obligation to report due to their lack of personal involvement or interest. Finally, we connected these themes for not reporting with individual traits. Those who were higher on moral disengagement measures were much more likely to have rationalized the toxic behaviors as banter, as typical of games, or as acceptable toxicity. There's so much more to see in the paper, but our key takeaways are that moral disengagement in games and toxic online disinhibition both contribute to reduced perceptions of toxicity in a competitive gaming context. Players normalize toxicity as banter, as typical of games, as acceptable, and as not their circus. And players with higher moral disengagement in games may be more susceptible to the cycle of normalization. We argue that the normalization of toxicity is endemic within online gaming spaces, is influenced by player traits, and represents a critical avenue for future work. Combined with development efforts towards dismantling the normalization of toxicity, our findings could equip developers and researchers with the tools and knowledge to improve the health of online gaming communities. Thank you.